In Washington today, as the nation is a little bit paralyzed in fear over the coronavirus, there's another paralysis going on, which is the breakdown in negotiations between the Democrats and the Republicans in the Senate and in the House related to funding some of the, trying to cover through a spending bill, some of the disastrous impact the coronavirus has had on our economy. Not just the virus, but actually the actions by the government in shutting down various businesses also having a devastating impact on the economy. I want to start today by asking Matt, the very wonderful producer, to please play. There's a clip that I sent him. I want to have you hear. This is Mitch McConnell speaking on the floor of the Senate about his view about why negotiations, why a bill that was ready to roll broke down in Washington in a disagreement between the Republicans and Democrats. Here is Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell.
The American people are watching this spectacle. I'm told the futures market is down 5%. I'm also told that that's when trading stops. So the notion that we have time to play games here with the American economy and the American people is utterly absurd. So I want to explain what just happened. Our good friends on the other side would not have been disadvantaged one bit if this vote had succeeded, because it would have required potentially 30 more hours of discussion, during which these seemingly endless negotiations could go on as long as they would like. Now, the buildup to this, so everybody fully understands, is that we had a high level of bipartisanship in 5 different working groups over the last 48 hours, where members who were participating were reaching agreement. And then all of a sudden, the Democratic leader and the Speaker of the House shows up. And we're back to square one. So we're fiddling here, fiddling with the emotions of the American people, fiddling with the markets, fiddling with our health care. The American people expect us to act tomorrow. And I want everybody to fully understand, if we aren't able to act tomorrow, it'll be because of our colleagues on the other side continuing to dicker when the country expects us to come together and address this problem. I can understand obstruction when you're trying to achieve something. This obstruction achieves nothing.
Let me add a few more details to Senator McConnell. I will tell you, that's a rare thing. Senator McConnell, really obviously angry, speaking on the floor of the Senate. And what is especially unique about it is he's calling out Nancy Pelosi, who is obviously not a member of the Senate. She's a member of the House. She is the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, who got in the middle of a deal that the Democrats and Republicans had worked out in the Senate related to trying to fund some of the damage, trying to protect America, provide a bridge, protect America from some of the damage done to our economy, our businesses, our stock markets, individual families, employers, a lot of people due to this coronavirus. I want to share some other very important points in this first 5 today. Number 1, Nancy Pelosi, in her effort to she has now said she wants the House side to come up with their own bill, and then they'll move forward based on what they want. Nancy Pelosi is talking about trying to include in this emergency coronavirus bill funding to pay for all student college debt. We're always hearing about there's a massive debt that some students owe who took out loans to go to college, and they have massive debt. They can't pay it back. It's a really interesting little goes around, comes around thing, because that's one thing she wanted to see the Senate put in the coronavirus bill, that we would excuse all college debt. And you know what's the most amazing goes around, comes around thing? That the federal government's takeover of the college loan program was another nefarious, slip it in there, an irrelevant bill thing the Democrats accomplished back when Obamacare passed. Did you realize that? Obamacare was the source of the federal government seizing control of college loans in this country. So Pelosi, now that that program, because the federal government took it over, it has skyrocketed in expense and cost and debt to the students. Anything the government takes over naturally is inefficient and more expensive than necessary. And so now, here we are in 2020, trying to fund and protect Americans from this coronavirus damage. And Pelosi saying, let's stick in some money there to forgive college loan debt. Not to say, can we bridge there, or can we suspend payments for a few months until the virus damage, winds its way through our economy. She's talking about forgiving it. Number two, obviously, as Democrats always are, looking for money for Planned Parenthood and other abortion-related funding. But other really points to understand, I don't want you to take away from this that I am thrilled with the size and scope of the coronavirus package. I do think the Heritage Foundation, as an example, has made some excellent arguments about we're doing too much, we're spending too much. We don't have $2 trillion in the federal coffers to go spending, even in a crisis like this, that the aid provided in the coronavirus bill should be targeted, specific to industries particularly harmed. I'm not saying the bill they had was great, but they had knocked it out, Republicans and Democrats battling it out in the Senate, and gotten to a deal that Nancy Pelosi stepped in the middle of and said, sorry, I'm not going to go along with that, not doing it. So next thing is that it's so interesting to see how the media is responding to what the Democrats are doing. The New York Times, the mouthpiece of the Democrat Party, the New York Times that never will criticize an elected official who's Democrat, a Democrat policy, certainly haven't seen a spending policy they ever opposed. The New York Times came out with a headline because even they were shocked by the fact that Nancy Pelosi would step in the middle of the spending bill trying to address the coronavirus emergency. They actually had three headlines. They had one headline that came out almost immediately, which said, Democrats block action on $1.8 trillion stimulus. This is the coronavirus spending. So their first caption said, Democrats block action on $1.8 trillion stimulus. Second headline, clearly because I got a call from somebody or many somebodies over there in the Democrat Party saying, hey, what are you doing? Put Democrats block action on stimulus plan seeking worker protection. So they're trying to say, they're trying to soften it and defend the Democrats. Third caption was partisan divide threatens deal on rescue bill. Look, my friends, there probably has to be a pretty big bill out of Congress right now to deal with the coronavirus because the economy, as everyone can see, is in the tank. Businesses are closed in many parts of the country. You can't go to work. You can't earn your money. You can't. And where we are right now in Dallas, Texas, I'll just tell you, folks, here in Dallas last night, we had first of all, our governor, Abbott, on Sunday night said, earlier Sunday afternoon, yesterday, say, actually we're going to have to do some further steps. And he's trying to, public schools are shut down, restaurants, businesses are shut down. And then last night we had our own Dallas, the name of the gentleman, the person who runs the county, the highest elected position in the county judge, ordered Dallas County into a shelter-in-place status. So starting midnight tonight, we're in shelter-in-place, as other people are around this country. Many people are, which means basically you have to stay home unless you have to do something essential like go for medical care or go to purchase food. So we have a massive impact on our economy. Republicans and Democrats cannot get their act together. But I do want to say, when you read some of the things that Nancy Pelosi wants to stick in this bill, she is, as Democrats will always do, if there's an opportunity, if there's a crisis, she's taking advantage of it. She's trying to find some way to push Democrat policies that have nothing to do with helping America survive the coronavirus, everything to do with the left-wing agenda she has always had. I also want to make clear, if you didn't know this, in fact, all the stories I'm mentioning throughout my show, every show, you can go to my website, americacanwetalk.org. americacanwetalk.org. On the homepage, under shows, drop down list of links and read the links to all the stories I'm talking about. Another story I'd meant to mention, I didn't even get to it last week, was that George Soros, the most vile, anti-American, hateful, hates freedom, hates religion, hates America, hates the whole concept of nations and countries. George Soros has already announced his group is going to spend millions of dollars attacking Donald Trump just on the coronavirus issue. And again, folks, coronavirus didn't get started here. It got started in China. Trump is doing everything he can. We're hitting the next segment, many things that Donald Trump really is doing. But I want to close out the first five by saying we're going to be watching this spending bill in Washington because, you know, it's an enormous, unanticipated, debt increasing, spending money we don't have bill. And even in this time of crisis, on the one hand, we may feel like we've got to do something to protect workers, individuals, families, businesses who are literally being, either their business has been destroyed because of the coronavirus, so they can't go to work, they can't open their factory, or their other kind of business, and all sorts of people in the service industry, people who are, who wait tables, who own restaurants, whose very livelihood depends on the business being open, who live paycheck to paycheck. These people are not working these days throughout our country. So we probably do need to be doing something, but there's a big danger here about this massive spending bill coming out of Washington, unsettled yet what the terms are. And there really is, as always, I expressed concern many, many times on this show about the idea, just because we have a big problem, just because, Congress is trying to do something about it, does not mean we always have to go along with every new massive spending idea. We have to watch the kind of money the lobbyists are pushing for. There are lobbyists in Washington. For example, just a few of the examples, Boeing, massive, obviously American company, is asking for a $60 billion, B as in boy, billion bailout. It is not as though all these companies were floating along beautifully and everything was fine, and all of a sudden the coronavirus destroyed their business. These people have past decisions that have shaped where they stand as a company, how stable they are, how their finances are, what risks they have. So you have big companies like Boeing with big, massive, powerful lobbyists in Washington pushing for money toward them. Same with a whole bunch of them. I'm not going to go through them, I guess, but I want to just say that the coronavirus spending bill should be as much as possible, not only limited in who is helped and protected, and I'm not saying no businesses should be, but who is helped and protected, and very limited in length. We cannot agree with ourselves that we're doing some open-ended long-term spending. It's a short-term to bridge America through this disaster of the coronavirus. And that, my friends, is today's First Five.